I bet you didn't know Crusader Kings 3 has a speedrunning community. Well, the truth is it did a while ago, but recently it's been dormant. That's mostly because the major runners for the game all sort of retired around the same time, including me. After I did the all-achievement single-segment run, I didn't want to speedrun again for a long time. However, recently, I felt the itch to get back into it a bit. I was inspired by the legendary redditor Dr. Sandwich, who is an amazing theory crafter for CK3 stuff. He's done 0-day 1 culture and 0-day world conquests, among other insane feats. He proposed that we maybe try to revive the speedrunning community a bit by hosting a competition to see who can become the Huangdi of China as Haston the fastest. Everyone loves a friendly competition, and we used to have some insanely hype ones back in the peak of CK3 speedrunning. Anyway, you probably have some questions about how speedrunning in CK3 works, so allow me to illuminate it a bit for you. There are two ways to measure speed for CK3. You either use real time or you use in-game time. Obviously, since Paradox games are heavily dependent on your computer speed to determine how fast the game goes, we only use speed 4 for real-time timing. For in-game timing, it's quite obvious. You just use the date that you ended minus the date that you started to determine how fast you were. In that timing system, you can take as long as you want in real time to think and plot. The other requirement is that you use Iron Man and achievements be achievable. That is to say, you must use Iron Man and your game rules must allow for getting achievements. There's also a list of exploits available on speedrun.com which are forbidden, but you can use them if you're okay with being in the exploit category, which is a separate leaderboard. That being said, for this run, I think we're going to be avoiding any exploits. And that's it really. Beyond that, your goal is to be as fast as possible. We're going to get into the run now, which is an unedited recording of me just going for the speedrun and providing commentary as to my rationale and strategies during it. I hope you enjoy, and perhaps even learn something to help up your CK3 gameplay. Let's get into it. Anyway, the timer begins when we take our first action, so we're allowed to look around the map, we're allowed to change the speed and that kind of thing, but we can't, for example, pick our perks or click on anything until we're ready. So I'm going to start the timer right when I start picking my perks, which is going to be now. Okay, so immediately I'm going to reset perks. We're going to go for Sappers because the Sappers let us siege faster. Sieging is significant time loss in this game, of course, because sieges just kind of take forever. And then we have kind of two paths we can go down. I might do a second run where I show the other possible path, but for now, we're going to go down the more traditional path of just rushing straight for China. I'm going to get some Huskarls, because Huskarls counter archers, and the archers that China has are really strong, so we don't want to mess with them if we can avoid it. Already kind of messing up my playthrough here with some misclicks. I am washed up, you know, it is what it is, but we're going to go over there. And now, because we're on speed 4, it's going to take a bit, but we can't do much about it. While we're waiting for that, we're going to divorce our wife, and we're going to remarry to whoever has the highest marshal. That would be you. Great. The reason we do this is because then we can go into our council, we can set our wife to do chivalry, and this gives us more marshal. The more marshal we have, the faster that we win battles. The faster we win battles, the faster we win wars, of course. It's all about being as fast as possible. Now, it's my opinion that CK3 is a game which is best enjoyed not with min-maxing and stuff, but there is some joy to be had in playing it like a speedrun game. I like to roleplay, I like to make stories, but ultimately, sometimes it is fun just to go ham and speedrun a little bit. So every once in a while I like to come back to it this way. While that siege is happening, I'll explain what the general plan is. We need to use the Ranged Adventure CB to more or less make our way over to the east. And the thing is that we don't have a lot of diplomatic range. One change that came with, I think it was this new patch, but it might have actually been an even older patch, is that diplomatic range was reduced significantly. So we're going to have to do a combination of conquests and Ranged Adventures. The reason we can't Ranged Adventure every single time we want to move anywhere is because if we do that, we'll run out of prestige very quickly, and we do need a certain level of fame to Ranged Adventure and to, actually fight China. So we have to do a county conquest to extend diplomatic range, then a Ranged Adventure to sort of move ourselves and our capital further east, and because we get money when we Ranged Adventure. So that's why we sort of mix things up. Now I would siege this, but it's not going to win the war faster than me winning for ticking war score. So instead I'm just going to wait and not waste my troops on attrition with sieging, because some of these troops won't respawn is the problem. Once the war's over, I'm going to pause. And there we go. I'm going to end the war. There we go. We're going to start attacking the Sodanids, who are another step we can take towards the east. I'm going to take Reggio Calabria. It doesn't really matter what you declare for, but I don't know, I just felt like it. One small thing you might have noticed that I did is that I bought the Huskarls after raising my troops to attack Majorca. And that's because I didn't need these Huskarls in order to actually fight Majorca, so I'd rather have bought them while the war was happening and then let them reinforce while I was sieging down this little island. That way, they're fully reinforced when we go to war with the Sodanids, against whom, well, I was going to say we might need the help, but probably not. It's more against Crete that you might need the help, because it's a bit of a tough landing. Sometimes they have a lot of troops. Basically, it's just nice to have the reinforcements happen right away. Whenever we get prisoners, we immediately want to ransom them, because money is a bit tight. It's not super tight, but we're going to need to hire a lot of men if we want to hope to take down China. So, of course, we will do that as much as we can. We're almost done taking Reggio Calabria here. Go. Okay, nice. We won the war. That's pretty good. Now we're going to bring an adventure over to the Hafsids because we want the money, and because at this point we're starting to be pretty far from our capital. The further away from your capital you are, the longer it takes to raise troops, as you'll see demonstrated right here. It's going to be 31 days to raise, whereas if I were raising in my capital, it would take 0 days. So this is kind of adding more time. So we'd like to sort of adventure whenever we're getting pretty far from our capital. One thing I didn't do yet, by the way, is actually pick a deity. The Ul gives you movement speed, I think it is, and also some martial. So this is actually pretty powerful. You do want to use this. You could also use Thor for the domain limit, but we don't really care about our economy right now, so who cares? This battle, see what I mean about how this battle is kind of tough? I think he hired, looks like mercenaries, and then he has an ally, maybe? I don't know where he got all those troops from, but the point is, this is why you want to get the Huskarls pretty early. Unfortunately, the fort here kind of sucks to siege, but you gotta get through it, so oh well. You might think he could possibly kick me off this fort, but a big reason why we were having trouble in that battle was purely because we had recently landed. The recently embarked penalty is a -30 advantage, so it's pretty painful. We don't have very many knights, and if we can, we'd like to recruit people to become knights if possible, but we don't have any good prisoners. That's sort of one piece of RNG that you're going to run into, is whether or not you get any good prisoners for the recruiting as knights. A very important perk, by the way, we just got is loyalty and respect. It makes it so that our spouse gives us more of her stats via her council action. So now we're getting 13 martial from our wife, which is very nice. There we go, we won the war. Excellent. Did we get any prisoners? Yeah, we got a couple. So anyone that has more than 0 prowess will take, because a knight's a knight, right? In theory, if you're truly trying to be as fast as possible with your real-time speedrun, you probably don't actually care that much about whether or not you're getting knights, because you're going to win the battles regardless. But against China, it can be kind of nice. And in terms of the in-game time speedrun, it's probably better to have more knights, because then they'll make you win wars faster. I'm going to hire some more Huskarls while these men sail over to East Africa, because, again, we're letting them reinforce while we're at war. Getting through Egypt's pretty easy, because thankfully we don't have to fight them. We can just go conquer this little single count guy, which is very quick and easy. If we had to fight Egypt, it'd be pretty bad, because his Mubarzan would probably rip us to shreds, because they counter us and they have high stats. But we can luckily just avoid them. Now this might be a bit of a tough battle, but I think because our marshal's so high, it'll be okay. Yeah, even with the -30 from recently disembarked, we still have huge advantage. There we go. One huge RNG factor, of course, is if you can capture the ruler in the battles. Rulers will always lead their armies, no matter how incompetent they are, if they have at least 8 martial, which is a weird AI behavior. It's been a thing for a long time, and it means that rulers like, for example, maybe, Al-Mutaz, he is actually leading his army right now, I think, considering he's wearing his armor. Maybe he's not, I don't know, but seems like he could be. Looks like he is. Yeah, he is leading. So he shouldn't be leading. He's only got 8 martial, but the AI, for some reason, if they have more than 8, or rather 8 or more, they will always choose to lead, which is, a curious choice. Anyway, we're going to keep hopping east. It's not much to explain here. We just keep hopping east because, of course, we've got to get to China. One thing is that diplomatic range from Arabia to India is pretty tough. But the nice thing is that if you have any land in India, then your diplomatic range across India is much better. The weird thing where diplomatic range doesn't travel very nicely over water. So, for example, you'd think that maybe from Dhofar you could reach, like, Chera. But you absolutely cannot reach Chera or the Maldives from Dhofar. But you can reach it from Sindh. So we're going to jump to this sort of Yemen area here, and then we're going to jump to Sindh, and then we can jump over to probably the Vengi Chalukya Raj. Depends. We'll have to see. I don't remember if it actually works or not. Now, one RNG thing that can happen to you is if you get assassinated by one of your rivals, because of course Hassan famously loves getting assassinated by Charles the Bald, but there's not really anything we can do about that. In theory, we could go for a withdraw from view, but this makes us get more stress, and that can also be a way that RNG screws you, so I'd rather just gamble that we won't get assassinated. That's usually my strat. Anyway, time to attack the Habaris. Gonna attack for Debul. The reason you don't go for Sonda is because sometimes Pratyahara conquers it, and that means that you end up at war with Pratyahara, who takes much longer to defeat. So you go for Debul instead. It's nice that it's also the capital, which means you get more war score for taking it, but it prevents the RNG of potentially fighting Pratyahara, who, as you can tell, is a much tougher opponent compared to the these guys, the Sindhis. To demonstrate, by the way, as you can see, Chera, too far to interact with. Maldives, too far. I think even Rush Drakutra could be too far. Yeah, so you can't even attack these guys. But again, attacking these guys would be a terrible idea because of how strong they are. But once we take this land in Sind, which you'd think is low-key maybe further away, not further, but you wouldn't think this would give you range as far as like the eastern coast, but it actually does. Here we go, we've landed. We're about to hit the 10-minute mark, which I've only tested this on speed 5 to save myself some time, so I don't actually know if this is a fast speed or not, but it certainly feels relatively quick. The thing about speed 5 speedrunning is that obviously it's significantly more action-packed, because of course you are doing more, but the problem of course is that then it's unfair just in competitions in terms of comparing to people's computers, so it's not usually a good idea. 99%, wow, that's funny. And now we hit 100% maybe? There we go, okay, great. Now we should have range all the way to this guy, which we do, and we're going to do a Varangian Adventure because we're pretty far away from our capital by this point, so we'd like to stop being so far away. One thing I've not been doing is stationing my men, and that's because the time that you lose to spend on the clicks to station is probably not worth the bonus that you're getting from stationing, if we're being real. Just because of, well, you know, what is it, like plus 12 or something? Like, plus 12 attack on these guys is probably not going to be that big of a deal compared to getting the run done, you know, maybe like 10 seconds faster from not having to do all the clicking. And once we get on the east coast, we should be able to then hop to this island, the Andamans, or is that the name of this island chain? The Andaman Islands? I'm going to think that it is. Basically this one. Then we can get over here, and this gets us a border with China. Then we begin the big important war against China. For now, though, we simply sail to the east coast of India. Now, I believe that, interesting enough, he just landed from boats, so we're both going to have the negative, or not. It looks like we didn't quite get there in time, but I thought he might have the disadvantage as well. It's okay, though. Again, it sucks to take the negative, and it means that we're losing more men, but we'll still be fine. There we go. Beach's capital down. Again, if you're going for the in-game time strategy, it is probably better to not take the bad battles because then you lose more men. And some of Hassan's army, these hosts, these never respawn. Once they're dead, they're dead. To be fair, most of what's been dying is the levies, and those don't really matter very much. It's the Huskarls and the Varangians that you care about. But either way, you know, just little optimizations here and there are kind of what makes speedrunning fun, right? So, yeah. Let's see if we can fight this guy while he's got his recently disembarked modifier. That's going to be pretty nice. Just barely didn't make it in time. That's okay. Still, it's going to be a slaughter, I think. Sure is. This is why we take Huskarls, by the way. You couldn't see it because the battle ended so fast, but most of these guys use archers. And archers are, of course, really, really bad against Huskarls because we have counter on them, of course. Also, sorry if my voice sounds a bit off, because I'm still... Like, I've recovered from COVID, but I don't know... This is my first time catching it, so I wasn't sure if this was, like, a thing, or it's just me. But my throat is still kind of scratchy, despite me feeling better. Like, I'm no longer feeling really sick, but throat's a little scratchy, so sorry if I sound a little bit weird. Hopefully I don't cough. I'm trying to hold back any coughs that come up, because I don't want to cough into the mic. Also, damn, minus 50, holy... Still we win, though. When the numbers advantage is that big, it's hard to lose. I'm thinking about court positions, actually, since I have the time to think about it. Master of the Horse is good, because you can get Warhorse Grooming, gives you advantage. And I guess something like... We could go Tutor, and then just grab Advanced Research, so we can get more perks. That personal position, we can also get more perks with Advanced Research. And this kind of stuff I usually ignore for a speedrun, because the modifiers are pretty slim, but, you know, since we're doing Speed 4, I have the time to do it. Might as well. Any little bonus you can get is nice. There we go. Now for the last war, or well, the second to last war, we attack this guy. We're going to bring an adventure to him. This is so that we can be like right next to China. Now we're going to drop to Illustrious, but it's okay because we don't really care about having prestige, except as long as we have the amount of fame that we need to attack China. Now, if I remember correctly, you need tier 3 fame to attack China for the Mandate of Heaven. So I believe we'll be okay, even though this is putting us down a level. The reason we rang an adventure over here, despite it being a small little patch of land, is purely because we get a bunch of money that way, and because then our capital is right next to China, so when we raise troops, we're going to be in a good spot. Looks like China's embroiled in civil war, which is kind of bad for us in a way. What we actually want is for the Chinese army to hunt us down so we can get a defensive advantage and then destroy them very easily. Because they're in a civil war, their army is going to be distracted, and that's going to slow us down, even though you'd think it'd make the war easier. We don't care if the war is easier when we're speedrunning, we only want the war to be faster. Understand, right? There we go, landing in Madling. Sorry, I don't actually know at all how to pronounce things in Vietnamese, so I would like say this properly, but I don't have no idea. Don't care that war's been declared on me because I'm just ranged adventuring away anyway. New perk, never back down is nice. Advantage and friendly casualties down. The perks, like, because we desperately need sappers in order to siege faster, it's just a no contest, you always take sappers, even though the gallant tree has a lot of really good stuff on it. It's just that sappers is like necessary to be as fast as possible. Go, 100% war score, we moved over, great, and we immediately declare the war for seizing the Mandate of Heaven. Again, this is going to cost us fame, but it does not matter. This, we're going to actually station our units because we want them to gain some stats. I'm going to station the one that has more in it, and then we're going to raise our troops. We're going to just go for it immediately. Now, we'll see how we do. The thing about fighting China is that they actually are like really strong, but in this case, they're a bit distracted, and our units are also really strong, and we have insane advantage. Now, I've moved into Vietnam here. One thing I haven't done any research on yet with regards to the speedrun is what region would be fastest to try and siege. Vietnam has a couple of pretty high fort level places because of the Dai La Citadel, so this kind of sucks to get through, but I think we can avoid it by just moving along the east coast, so we avoid this little fortress, so we just move up the east coast. But it could be that it's faster to, for example, go along the Yellow River. This is the Yellow River? Is this... I don't actually know if this is the Yellow River, maybe this one is, but one of these rivers, and get into like deep China where perhaps there's even lower fort level. I haven't researched into that yet, so for now I'm doing the relatively basic strategy of just fighting through Vietnam like so. Once take this fort, move up to the next one, which is Nam Dinh. And then we just keep moving through these forts. Now unfortunately, Long Hun actually has 2 forts, but one of them is super low fort level, so it's not a big deal. If there were a way for us to get any kind of siege equipment, I'd probably go for it. Now one way you could do it would be through some kind of culture conversion shenanigans. The problem, of course, is that when you culture convert, you no longer can bring an adventure, because of course we get that from the malleable invaders. No, I think it's the coast. One of these. It's an innovation, isn't it? Yeah, it's this bringing adventurers. So if you you know, culture convert in order to get siege equipment, you then can't bring an adventure, and that of course kills the whole strategy. Fortunately, this guy is being a big nuisance. I'm going to split the army because I think it'll be okay. Go over there and try to kill him before he takes back my fort. Now, I'm a little bit scared that China might come and kill me while I'm doing this. Looks like they won't, though. Because, again, they're distracted, so maybe that's probably why they're not coming after me. There we go. This is definitely the part of the speedrun that is the slowest, is having to deal with, like, getting through China's forts. But, oh well. Here comes an enemy army. This is a neutral army, but I think they're just going to get killed because they have recently disembarked. Yeah, they're just going to get murdered. Now, this is kind of bad for us because it means that although we're going to get a bunch of prestige because these guys are neutral, we're going to lose a lot of men. Not so good. Not taking a white piece, sorry. Now, the dream would be if the Tang ruler would lead an army, we could capture him, but I believe that this ruler is not randomly generated. So his stats are always too low for him to want to lead an army, so it's never going to be that easy. You could, though, rush down his capital in Chang'an. That is one idea I've thought of. You could take this river, and then you could siege Huazhou, or just walk into Chang'an. It's one idea I've had. I might actually try it out after this run to demonstrate, but it's really risky, because you could just get stack wiped or something if they're really close to the enemy army. He's about to win his wars, although he might lose his peasant war, which is pretty funny. If he does lose this, he will basically just lose a bunch of land. That's good for us, actually. It would weaken him. See what happens, though. More perks. Household Guard is meaningless because we don't even have maximum knights. Although we should have been inviting champions maybe. That could have been smart. Go up to Haidong. Any prisoners to ransom? We'll just ransom out. You never know if they have some money. I think they had a little bit. We could add more Vigmen and more Bondi, but they're honestly so useless that I'm not going to bother. What we should probably do is hire some mercenaries. Now, when it comes to choosing what mercenaries to get, you probably want to look at what you're trying to counter. So the Buranija infantry are heavy infantry. They also have some black armored cavalry and some armored horsemen. So we probably want just like whatever can counter some horsemen, in which case pikemen are not bad. The thing is that pikemen are just kind of like not a good unit at all, so I kind of hate hiring them. If there were some kind of crossbows, we'd want those, but there doesn't look like there are any crossbows we can get. Unfortunate. At this point, we almost have 50% war score from, like, taking occupations. So we'd really like it if the Emperor would try to fight us. We can get war score from fighting him, but, you know, it doesn't happen, right? Thinking about what to hire, I mean, I guess we can get this Mon band of Pechapuri, but we don't really want the archers. I guess the light footmen, hilariously, are probably our best bet. Now, putting us into debt is kind of a bad idea, but oh well. I think we'll get so many back when we finish these sieges. We could also destroy some artifacts, if we have any, which I don't think we do. Okay. Didn't mean to pause, sorry. Honestly, taking on the debt may have been a big mistake, but it depends. It's... Honestly, like, we're getting quite unlucky with the fact that the Emperor is so distracted. This is actually kind of a problem for us, that he's so distracted, because it means he won't fight us. But, oh well, it's okay. We're hoping to get some prisoners out of this siege so we can get our out of debt. When you're in debt, your armies don't reinforce, and you, of course, take a, you take a negative to your advantage in all battles, which is painful. In terms of where to siege, by the way, it's not about war score, it's about fort level. So, oh, there's his army, hold on. Never mind, we're going to let him walk into us, of course. We can take the defensiveness, and this should be a very easy battle for us. Let's see. Yeah, I think we're going to win this quite handily. There's a bunch of people, like a bunch of neutral armies here. Very scary, but I think we're going to be okay still. The big Chinese army, but Hassan's just that insanely strong. So nothing to worry about. Big thing is I have the game rule on where you take 10% more, or rather you deal 10% more damage for every advantage point you have. See, game rules are weird when it comes to speedrunning. There's no formal rules for like what game rules you use for speedruns, except that it has to be Iron Man compatible. It's the only rule. So like you have to be able to get achievements using the game rule. Beyond that, I mean, you can use like the advantage rule that you want to use. If you know your advantage will be significantly lower than your enemies for most of the conflicts you're engaging in, you're going to want to reduce the power advantage. If you know you're going to have a big bonus compared to your enemy, you're going to want to obviously increase the power advantage. So it just depends entirely on the plan here. Since I'm playing Haston, I of course know that I'm going to have a lot of advantage, so I choose to keep it. Now I've made an unfortunate choice to split my army here right when the Chinese army is kind of returning. This could be quite bad for me, but let's see. I'm going to return in time, probably not lose the battle. Let's see. This is very close, but looks like we are going to win. Unless reinforcements arrive, which they just did. That's not good. That is very bad. Very, very bad, especially because we actually can't reinforce. But we just got Peacemaker, so that's nice. The thing that sucks right now is that we don't quite have enough occupation to win the war. We need to get to 50% occupation, and then we need to get 50% from battles. Winning battles is not so tough, but of course, getting the occupations takes a long time. Again, sieges are your main bottleneck in this game. That guy worth any money? The mercenaries I hired, I'll be honest with you, total mistake. Should not have hired the mercenaries. They're not worth it. Comes another battle. This is a neutral army, so it won't give us any war score, but nonetheless, it's... I don't know, we can get prisoners, try to get some money out of it. Sucks that we don't get war score from this, but oh well. What it is. Okay, let's move up to this fort. That looks good. Well, level 6, I guess we want to go for the level 5 fort. Well, we should pick the fort. Level 5 fort is best in terms of our options. So we grab that. 8-month siege. Yeah, so, you know, not an optimal run by any means, but not a bad run either. There certainly has been worse in the world. We could use this guy to train commanders. I forgot about this button. This would help us a bit by giving us more men-at-arms damage and toughness. Should have been using that. This one reduces the cost of your units, but we're already in debt, so it doesn't really matter. Interesting, he's going to embark. Also, the ruler is leading, or is that perhaps the ruler? So you see this crown symbol. It means someone is leading the army. That's a ruler, but I think it's one of the vassals, not the actual Huangdi. About to win the siege. That's very good. Next is going to be Bobai, probably. Oh, no, 90%. There we go. So we just won. So that's going to be the end of the run right there. Didn't think that would actually get us enough. And with that, we can actually hit the time there. I hit the timer a little bit slow, but it's okay. And the run ends not when the achievement pops, but like when you actually achieve whatever the achievement wants you to get. I already have the achievement, so it's not going to pop up. You know, it is what it is, but that's it. 23 minutes on speed 4 to become the ruler of China as Haston. We did it in September of 878, so 11 years. Not bad, not bad. Now, in terms of how to do this optimally, the other strategy that I had in mind is that you start the game with a ton of prestige as Haston. So rather than rushing for the east, what you can do is reign adventure to Ireland to become tribal, then spend your prestige on getting a bunch of men-at-arms, and then you work your way east. And the reason why that can be pretty good is because then you have a bigger army, and the bigger army means you win wars faster. The problem is that it is kind of slow to spend time doing an extra war to get into Ireland, because then you can't reach Majorca. So you have to attack Leon. That's another war you have to do. That gives you range to Majorca, and then you resume the regular path. The problem, of course, is that then you have very little prestige because you spent it all on your men-at-arms. So you can't reign adventure as much. That means you have less money, but you had more men because you used your prestige on men. So it's kind of a wash, if you ask me. I prefer this strategy personally. Anyway, now that we're Huangdi, we get a bunch of this stuff, so I guess we can take, like, pillage, always space in the hold, you know, whatever you can have, you can beam around if you... Yeah, it's pretty good. We could take a bunch of concubines, but we don't have any people to take as concubines, unfortunately. And, of course, you could hybridize with Han, which is pretty easy, because, of course, you have the malleable invaders thing, so it makes it much easier to hybridize. But regardless, yeah, that's the run. Hope you enjoyed it. And I should add here, maybe I'll do it in post, but turns out that guy was right, we are adding it in post. The CK3 Speedrunning Discord is hosting a competition to see who can get this achievement the fastest, in an attempt to revitalize the CK3 Speedrunning community a bit. Check out the description for a link to the Discord for more details. Huge shout out to Sandwich for proposing the idea, and of course to Koifish, who is the inspiration for this achievement. I'd highly recommend that if you are interested in CK3 speedrunning, you go over to speedruns.com and check out the many speedruns that the CK3 community has posted over the years. There are some truly impressive things over there, and if you have any questions, join the Discord and ping me, or just ask questions in the general chat to get some answers. I want to add here that speedrunning in CK3 is a very friendly community, and a place where people love to just try and improve their own personal bests, or compete for the best time in the community. Whatever you choose, your focus should always be on having fun and making yourself proud. I hope to see you there. If you want to compete for the top position, your time to beat for real time is 23 minutes and 52 seconds, and for in-game time it's the 18th September 878 set by me in both cases. Best of luck to you if you try. Thank you for your time.
From coming, feel the weight of what we